Welcome to Love and Murder. I'm your host, Ky. Any bride would be deliriously happy on their wedding day, looking forward to their new life and their new husband and their new house. But some brides get married to please everyone else but themselves. What do you do in a situation like that? Learn to love your husband, get a divorce, or plot a murder? Sometimes 8 days of marriage is just too much marriage. Catch me if you can. It's the case of Jordan Linn Graham, right here on Love and Murder. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of Love and Murder. I am your host, Ky, and once again, I am without Char. If you are just joining us for the first time, Love and Murder is a true crime podcast which talks about relationships gone terribly wrong. And usually at this point, I would say, how wrong, Char? And she would say, dead wrong. And I would say, dead wrong. That's if Char was here. Now, our podcast usually comes out weekly on Thursdays, but for the past month, we have just been like, the podcast comes out whatever. We're one of those podcasts that's just whatever, whoever, whyever. So, Love and Murder. You can check us out on Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can also follow us on social media. The links are in the bio because I don't usually take up the beginning of the show with, telling you about our social media and everything like that. I'll say that at the end of the show. So if you just want to click on the links in the bio, you're free to do that. If you want to wait for the end of the show and hear that plug, you're free to do that too. Now, I want to tell y'all right now, I am suffering in the heat for y'all because I turned off the AC, I turned off the fan, and it's so hot in this recording room. It's not even funny, but I turned it off so that I could record a quality episode just for your listening pleasure. So, oh my God, I am dying right now. Anyways, if you want bonus episodes of the craziest true crime stories, relationship question and answer, just relationship advice, Char's crazy stories from her life where you're just like, does anyone really live like this? Is this a true story or is this fake? Then you can visit us on patreon.com/love and murder and become a subscriber of $3 and above. When you do that, you're also able to catch our full episodes without commercials. So there will be no ads. You'll just listen to the episode if you just visit patreon.com/love and murder and become a subscriber of $3 and above. Now, if you've listened to our show before and you like it, please go to Apple Podcasts, hit the purple button and give us 5 stars. You can say whatever you want in the description, but doing this helps bring this up in the chart and allows other true crime followers, true crime listeners, true crime lovers, lovers of people who just put out podcasts whenever apparently, to find us. And that'll be a great help. And it takes only 3 minutes of your time and it's free to do. And we would thank you so much. Now that all that's out of the way, I want to talk about tonight's show. Tonight, we're going to talk about the case of Jordan Linn Graham and Cody Johnson. Now, some people are just married. They've been married 50 years. They've been married a month, But what do you do when you think you've been married too long and you feel like you hate your spouse? Well, just wait till you hear this story. Keep in mind when I said married too long. So, Jordan Linn Graham was born on August of 91 in Kalispell, Montana, to Lindy Rutledge. She grew up with her mother and her stepfather. Her stepfather's name was Steve Rutledge, and her brother is Michael Rutledge. She was described as being very shy and introverted, which basically sounds like me. I know it doesn't sound like that on air, but that describes me. I'm introverted, I'm shy, and it was reported that she loved the outdoors and loved the nearby park, which was called Glacier National Park. That sounds amazing, by the way. She grew up in a really strict household and was very involved in her church. She was known as being great with kids, and when she got older, she worked as a nanny for some of the churchgoers. Jordan would always like to say, she wanted to meet a nice guy and she wanted to get married. She wanted to have kids and she wanted to be a stay-at-home mom and, just be with her and her family. And you can't knock her. Stay-at-home mom is a hard job. Some people try and, act like it's not, like, oh, all you want to do with your life is be a stay-at-home mom. Oh my God, blah, blah, blah. But until you're a stay-at-home mom and you realize there's no lunchtime, there's no 15-minute breaks, there's no clocking out, and you don't get a paycheck at the end of the week. You're constantly on. Even when you're sleeping, you're still on. Then you'll realize that that's a job. That's a 24/7 job. Anyway, Cody Johnson was born on April 8th, 98 in San Jose, California. But then he moved to Kalispell, Montana with his mom, Sherry, so that they could have a new start. Maybe she went through a divorce or whatever. And sometimes when people go through divorces, they want to do something new. So they probably moved because she got a divorce and, she just wanted a new location. She didn't want the memories of, now look, this isn't what was said. This is what I'm guessing. So maybe she just wanted a new location. You don't want to always see the places like, me and my ex used to go there. Me and my ex used to go there. This is where we met, so probably to clear her head. And like I said, new start. So they moved to Kalispell, Montana. Now, Cody was the complete opposite of Jordan when it came to personalities, hobbies, and even going to church. But don't people say like opposites attract? Isn't that the thing that people say? So when I say opposites, Cody enjoyed firearms, cars, and his friend, Jeremiah Herbold, they like to go out to like shooting ranges and work on cars when Cody wasn't at work. He was what people, quote unquote, like to call a real man's man. Real men's men, like they like guns, they like fast cars, like action movies, stuff like that. That's what people like to say. But the one thing that really stood out about Cody was just how kind and generous he was and how great he was with children. Now, Jordan's friends, Levi, and I'm going to try and say this name, Laitani Blaisdell, they were trying to get Jordan set up with someone, and they came up with the idea of this like really great guy she should meet. And they decided to set her and Cody up together and, just introduce them. And this happened at a church function. They probably thought that Cody could bring Jordan out of her shell, because some people just don't get it when you're shy. They don't get it when you're introverted. They just think that there's a way to change them. So some people, you just don't get it, which is fine, because I don't get extroverts. Extroverts don't get introverts. Introverts don't get extroverts. And this is fine, because you can only really, truly, truly understand what you've been through. So I hear extroverts talking and I understand that they're extroverts, but beyond that comprehension, I have no idea what you're talking about. Like, you walk into a room and, people, I love seeing people. Like, that sounds weird. But anyways, Cody wasn't a member of the church, but, he was willing to attend this church function with his friends just to go and meet this person that they thought would be a great match for him. So on October 31st, 2011, Jordan and Corey met. Soon they started hanging out. They started going on dates. They started taking time to get to know each other. So it looked like it was just going well. And at first, Jordan was just like really shy around him, but the friends could tell that she really did like him. She told her friends that she wanted to start off slow because she wasn't really interested in being in a relationship. But on the other hand, Cody felt like he just met the one and he wanted to be in a serious relationship. So, either guy or girl, when you feel like you met the one, you want to start moving fast because, you want to get this person off the market. You want to be locked down to this person. This is the one I want to spend the rest of my life with. And so that's kind of like how Cody was, was his realization. This is like, I want to spend the rest of my life with her. So Cody realizes as time passes that he's actually fallen, in love with her. And he thinks that, like I said, she's going to be the one he wants to spend the rest of his life with. He wants to start a family with her. So Jordan's friends, Cody's and Jordan's friends, they were just like, this is weird because, it just seemed like they were complete opposites. They didn't seem affectionate with each other most of the time. So when they went out on dates, Jordan would just usually bring her friends along with them. So it wasn't ever Jordan and Cody. It was Jordan, Cody, Matt, Rachel, I can't think of any other names, but you know what I'm saying. So it just wasn't just the two of them. She always brought somebody along, which nothing's wrong with that. You know what I'm saying? If you want to do chaperone dates, that's completely fine. But, most people here think that's weird. In other countries, it's not weird. It's more weird to go out just the two of you alone. So Cody was, just trying to learn more about Jordan and trying to find out how he could make Jordan like as interested in him as she is with her, or he is with her. And so he found out that, she didn't want anybody who wasn't really invested in the church, which he wasn't. But because that's what he found out that she wanted, he started to go to church. So because he was now in the church, they started spending more time together. And then her friends became his friends. So it started to be one blended friendship. Her friends became his friends started becoming her friends, and it just started becoming a blended friendship. So then by November of 2011, Jordan's and Cody's relationship turned from friendship into a more serious relationship. And one thing that Jordan was really serious about was that she wanted to be celibate before marriage. And Cody, being that the great guy that he is, he told her that he was fine with that. He wanted to respect her, and he wanted to wait until marriage to have sex, which is really commendable because most guys are like, well, I don't know about that. And, they don't do that, or they say they'll do that and they cheat on you, or they just leave you or whatever. So he was really, really interested in that in her. And you could tell by the fact that he wanted to respect this mindset and wait until marriage. So the dating continued regardless of their friends' opinions because to Jordan and Cody, they seemed perfect for each other, with Cody being outgoing and helping, Jordan to kind of get out of her shell more and start doing more adventurous activities. So now 2 weeks into their dating, Cody told his mother that he wanted to marry Jordan, and, that's exactly what he did. In December of 2012, he proposed to Jordan and she accepted without hesitation. And you would think that, they maybe were dating a longer time like that, especially since Jordan said that, she wanted to take it slow. But it was only a year of dating before they proposed to each other, or he proposed to her, and, they're ready to get married. So the wedding date was set for June 29th, 2013. Jordan's close friend and matron of honor, whose name is Kimberly Martinez, started having chats with Jordan prior to her wedding day, and it seemed like she was having doubts. And she even asked Kimberly if she was making the right decision. Now, Kimberly, being the rational person that she is, told her that this was a conversation she should be having with Cody, and that she needs to do this right away, being that the wedding was coming up. Now, if Jordan talked to Cody about having second thoughts about being together, nobody knows because they continued on with the wedding. So who knows if they actually had this conversation and Cody was like, it's okay, we'll figure it out as we go along, blah, blah, blah. Maybe more than likely, Jordan never told Cody. It just seemed like to others that Jordan was just more excited about the idea of having a wedding than actually being married. And more importantly, being married to Cody. Even Cody's friends had their doubts about his relationship with Jordan. Some of his closest friends felt like he was a giver. He gave too much away in that relationship, whereas Jordan didn't reciprocate this. She didn't give him enough time. She didn't give him enough affection. She didn't even meet him halfway in this. In fact, one of his groomsmen even warned him not to marry her. But, Cody or anybody, whenever you are in love, you have, blinders on, you have earmuffs on, you're not listening to anybody. So Cody did the same thing. He didn't listen. This is the person he wanted to be with. He was probably like, you don't know her the way I know her. So, he didn't listen, and they continued planning the wedding with Jordan. And Jordan's idea of this wedding is she wanted a unique fairy tale day. So in the idea of uniqueness, they wanted a song that was done just for them. So they hired a songwriter named Elizabeth Shea. Now, because Elizabeth was writing their personal song for their special day, she spent a lot of time with them and ended up interviewing them on multiple occasions so that she can come up with, the perfect lyrics that were special to only Cody and Jordan and the love they had for each other. So when asked Elizabeth, in her opinion, Jordan seemed to love Cody very much and seemed to be excited to be married and start their new life. She was exceptionally happy about the new house they'd just bought and moving into it after they were married. Sounds like me. Like, I'd be crazy happy that I'm about to get married. I'm about to be with the love of my life. I'm about to move into this house. Most people, if they're marrying young, then they usually live with their parents, either his parents or her parents, or they move into an apartment until they could save money to buy a house. But, they were able to save money and get a house. And she was just always talking about how, they were going to decorate the house and just the basic plans that they had for the house. So now when I said they're young, at this point in time, Cody was 25 and Jordan was 21. So their wedding was an outdoor wedding. And they had their song playing. Well, not playing yet, but, their song was going to be playing. Their family and friends were there. There was food, laughter, happiness, joy, everything. Just everything that you would have in a wedding. And everyone could see that Cody was a very happy man. As he should be on such a special day. But attendees at the wedding noticed that Jordan looked nervous. As the day wore on, she became actually distraught and she was crying, while her eyes were focused on the ground, on the wall, on the trees, just everywhere except on Cody. And so people were just wondering if Cody's, is he seeing what we're seeing, or just, why can we see this and he's just not clearly seeing that, she's just crying her eyes out. But, they're maybe thinking that he's just chalking it up to her personality. She's introverted and all these eyes are on her, and that really doesn't work well for a shy person. So maybe all of this can just be chalked up to her personality. Everyone knew that Cody was just so committed to making their relationship work, which could explain why he was looking past her anxiousness. So like I said, Jordan was crazy nervous on that day, but when it came time for their first dance and their first song to come on, it seemed like she just completely forgot to be nervous, and that's when she focused on Cody for the first time all day. So if you look at the video, I've seen video from this, you can see in that instance, Jordan is smiling and she's hugging him and they're dancing away to their song that was just composed just for them. So the night of their honeymoon, yeah, they only took one night, but that's fine. They're young. They have a house to move into. So one night is fine. They went to a hotel in Big Fork. Cody wanted the night to be extra special for Jordan, so he had her bridesmaids buy flowers for the room, spread petals all over the room, just make the room look really, really pretty. Because he wanted her to just feel, special, comfortable, everything like that. So the next day, they moved into their new home, and that day, Jordan texted her friend. And in the text, she actually expressed regret about being married and suggested that her and Cody's night together wasn't the most romantic thing ever. Now, Cody had taken a week off of work to enjoy this time with his new wife and, work on getting the new house situated. Throughout the week, Jordan continued messaging her friend about how she doesn't like to be intimate with Cody, and even came up with excuses telling her friend, Hannah, that she lied to Cody about starting her period, and, she was worried that she wouldn't be able to use that excuse forever, which you wouldn't. How long does a period last? You can't say every 30 days, seriously, 30 days you had your period and maybe one day it stopped, and then, oh my God, it's back again the next day. You know what I'm saying? You can't. That's not realistic. You'd have to be going to the doctor, something's wrong with you. So how long could you use that excuse? So on Sunday, July 6, 2013, Cody was supposed to go golfing with his friends, but he decided to cancel that and spend the last day of his vacation with his new wife, which is so commendable. They ended up going to church in the morning and then went to hang out at a lake that they both loved. And then around 5:30 in the evening, they went back to the church to meet up with some friends and then head on over to the local Dairy Queen for dinner. Then they left DQ at around 8:30 p.m. and headed home. The next day, which is Monday, July 7th, Cameron, Cody's best friend and who happened to be his boss also, was waiting for him at work. He was excited to hear about, being a new husband in a new house with his new wife and just like everything that happened on his vacation. Now, everyone who knows Cody is a stickler for being on time. More than likely, he'll even show up 30 minutes early, but he's just never late. So at work, he usually shows up at 6 a.m. So when 6:30 rolled around and he still wasn't at work, Cameron was like really, really worried, to the point that he felt that he had to go to the house to see what was going on. He knocked on the door and no one answered. So he broke in to make sure, Cody wasn't laying in a pool of blood or anything, which is something I would totally do for my best friend. If I figured my best friend is not, he's doing something way out of character, he's not answering my calls, I go to his house and I knock and I know he's supposed to be home or his wife is supposed to be home, nobody's answering, yeah, I'll break in the house. I'm breaking in the house. I need to find out what's going on with my best friend. There's crazy people around and I know people do crazy things. I mean, look at the podcast that I'm hosting right now. So I would totally break in. Don't worry. If you're okay, I'll buy you a new door. I'll buy you a new lock. I just wanted to make sure that you're alive. Next time, answer your phone. Don't worry. My best friend knows I'm crazy. He answers his phone. So Cameron broke in and he's looking around to see if someone had broken in. He didn't see any signs of foul play in the house. He didn't see anything wrong. He didn't find Cody. He didn't find Jordan. So he went to check the garage, and in the garage, that's where he found Cody's phone. Now, the reason this was odd was because Cody never went anywhere without his phone, just like most of us. So Cameron started calling around to see if anyone had seen him. But the last time anyone had seen both Cody and Jordan was the night before when they went to dinner at DQ. So Cameron went to the police to file a missing persons report. And he spoke with Sergeant Chad Zimmerman. And Sergeant Zimmerman asked Cameron why Cody's new wife wasn't the one filling out this missing persons report. And Cameron was like, well, no one's seen or heard from her either. So, I'm here for Cody, but, really, I guess I'm here for both of them. Now, later on that day, one of Jordan's friends received a text message from her asking if she'd seen Cody all that day. So basically, she texted somebody and she was like, hey, have you seen Cody? And she was like, Cody's been gone out of the house. He left to meet some friends. He left last night. And what happened was basically, last night, he went outside. I didn't know who he was talking to, and he was taking a while. So I went to see what was going on. I actually thought he was in the garage at first, but I went in there, and he wasn't. So I went out in our driveway, and I saw him, getting into this back seat of a car that I didn't recognize and just pulling off with some people that I didn't recognize. So I was just like, what the? And he just drove off. And then Jordan said, he texted her. And he told her, don't worry about it. I'm just going out with some of these out of town friends and I'll be back. Everybody's just really confused and concerned because number one, no one knew who these friends were. And number two, why would he be going out and leaving his new wife alone? Especially if he took the week off to stay with her. That morning, he had the opportunity to go out with friends that she knew and he didn't. So why would it be that just all of a sudden he goes out with a group of friends nobody's known, nobody's ever seen before, nobody's ever heard of, and suddenly this is who he chooses to, go out and chill with, and it's just like deuces. He didn't even tell her before he left, just, bye. So just none of this made any sense whatsoever. But what are you going to do? So friends and family went to the house to comfort Jordan, but they noticed that she wasn't acting like you would expect someone in this predicament to act. She wasn't crying. She wasn't distraught. She didn't even look like she was even remotely worried. She seemed actually more upset that everyone was at her house, and she just didn't want to talk to anybody. She just sat quietly on the couch and just, that was it. And then after some time, she stood up and she took off her wedding ring and threw it across the room. Now, these actions, to me personally, they sound just about right. If she was under the impression that he had just left her to go hang with some friends that nobody knew, and then he just didn't come home, then as a newlywed and, as somebody with a temper, this sounds about right to me. So the cops started a missing persons case. And with this case, because they didn't really have any leads, they didn't have anything to go on, they ended up putting signs out and they brought Jordan in for questioning. Now, they brought Jordan in for questioning because, it seems like she was the last one to see him. So just routine questioning. The first time she was questioned was on June 9th, 2013, and she told the police the same story that she told her friends. That, he went outside and, she came outside looking for him because he was out there for a while, and as she came outside, he was driving away with, some people that she didn't know. And then he texted her later on and said, yeah, I'm out with some friends from out of town, don't wait up. So she told them the same story that she told everyone else. But this time, she included a little tidbit that on the way home from DQ, Cody had gotten a call and whoever he was speaking with had made him really angry. And then in follow-up interviews, Jordan said that she'd actually left the house to let Cody cool off. And she'd also realized that she'd left her phone charger at work. And when she got back home, she got a text from Cody saying that he was going out with some friends from out of town. And another time she added that she got home around 10 p.m. and that the car Cody left in was a dark green sedan with, what she thought, if she remembers correctly, was a Washington state license plate, but she wasn't entirely sure. So all of this doesn't sound suspicious because if you're distraught, even if you're not showing it, everybody shows, stress in different ways. But if you're distraught, you might have forgotten that you didn't tell them this, or you might have forgotten the situation. But the more you think about it, oh yeah, this is right. Actually, this is what happened and this car looked like this. And so it's still not really suspicious. Investigators asked Jordan if they'd been fighting that night, and she was like, no, absolutely not. They also asked her why she didn't report him as missing, and she said she thought he was coming back. So, if he's coming back, you'd probably be angry that she reported him as missing and making this big deal out of everything and filing a missing persons report. So that's why she didn't file him as missing. Investigators also brought in Sherry, if you remember who this is Cody's mom, to see if she knew everything. But by this time, she's like me. She had gone and gotten Cody's Verizon bill and handed that over to the investigators. So the first thing they looked for was the call that he'd gotten on the way home from DQ, which they did find, and it was from a Washington state number. And this belonged to a guy named Jose. So they called Jose and was basically like, yo, hey, where's Cody? You know what I'm saying? But they asked him if he remembered what they talked about that night and why was Cody upset. And Jose was like, what? Cody wasn't mad, He was just, I just called him to tell him that I'd found this tool that he let me borrow and, that I'll get it back to him as soon as I can because I finally found it. It was it was in my underwear drawer under this tighty-whitey that I don't ever wear. So, I wouldn't have thought to even look under there. But, it was under that tighty-whitey that I just don't wear because I'm a boxers guy. And I found it and I was just like, now that I have it, I'll bring it back to you on Wednesday. Is that cool? And Cody was like, cool. And that was the whole call. And this wasn't suspicious because this is what Cody did. He lent his tools out to people who needed it. So they questioned Jose more and investigated his whereabouts, but it turned out he had a rock solid alibi for that night. And if you're wondering, well, how could it be so rock solid? Well, his wife was giving birth. He was about to have a kid. So he was at the hospital that was surrounded by doctors, nurses, his wife, newborn kids, security cameras. He had a hospital bracelet on his hand, the sign-in sheet. And if you pinged his phone, it probably said, hospital, hospital, hospital. So, rock solid alibi. Now, this begged the question, why would Jordan say that Cody was angry when clearly he wasn't? Now everything's starting to be like, So, with no real answers, no real leads, the police and the town ended up just forming search parties and went in search of Cody. They searched fields, barns, alleyways, and basically everywhere in the town that you could think about. By Wednesday, July 10th, 2013, Cody was still missing, and everyone was kind of getting disheartened But then something surprising happened. Jordan told her friend Hannah that she got an email from a random email address. She said the sender's name was Tony S., and the email said,
"Hello, Jordan. My name is Tony. There's no bother in looking for Cody anymore. He's gone, so call off the missing persons report. He went hiking in Glacier National Park. He fell and he died, so, just call off the cops. Now that you know where he is, just call it off and everything's good. So, yeah, I'm going to end this email now. Okay, bye."
And that was the email. And this sounded like so weird. Hannah said that when Jordan told her this, she's just like really casual. Like, hey, girl, I had an email. It says Cody's dead. Look at it. Look at it for yourself. You want me to forward it to you? I can forward it to you. What's that email address? HannahMontana@gmail.com. Okay, got it. So I just sent it to you. Let me know if you got it. You got it? Cool. So look at it. Yeah. It says he's dead. So yeah, he's dead. So anyway, did you want chicken today for dinner? You want to join me at DQ? I mean, they have great burgers. So Hannah's like freaking out, like, oh my God. Did it say that Cody's dead? And she was like, take this to the cops. What are you doing? Take it to the cops. So Jordan didn't really want to bring it to the cops, but Hannah probably said something like, look, if you don't take this, I'm going to take it. So Jordan brought the emails to the cop. And she handed it over very calmly and matter-of-factly, like, here, I got a piece of evidence. Maybe you want to see this. Says that Cody went to Glacier National Park. He fell and he died. So, case closed. Husband's dead. Now we know where he is. Probably has a good burial over there. So anyway, I'm done with the case. Have a great night. Bye. So just, flat, uncaring, didn't care. Now, cops, because they didn't know her, they just really didn't think anything of her demeanor. They just probably chalked it up to her being in shock. So, people have different levels of how they deal with grief, and the cops don't really know her personality. So to them, that could have just been a level of grief for her. So they call it being numb. So they probably thought she was just being numb. But the cops had nothing else to go off of. So what are they going to do? They used the email as evidence, even though they were really suspicious of the email. However, Cody and his friends did like hiking in that area, so... Now, Jordan told the police that Cody worked with someone named Tony Stalcup, and she even gave them his number. Now, the way I'm thinking is that's like uber convenient. Here's a confession email. Here's the guy's name. And oh, look, here's his contact information. So, for some reason, personally, I'm calling bullshit on this. But, just me. So the investigation turned to Tony. Poor Tony. And the police brought him in for questioning. And Tony's probably like freaking out, like, what the I was just reading about this case and why am I here? Of course, he had no idea what they're even talking about. In fact, the more they asked him questions, they found out he doesn't even work with Cody. They only knew each other because they were both into cars and they'd hung out together to drive around and talk about cars. That was it. But Tony was really cooperative with the investigation and gave them access to his computer and all of his email accounts and his phone, his firstborn child, social security number, birth certificate, his mom's uterus, and everything else that they needed from him to, help clear his name and whatever you need to get to the bottom of this case. But of course, after all this research and everything like this investigation, the cops found nothing. Not even a Tony the Carman account. And his name was cleared. So the investigation is back at square one. Investigators subpoenaed Google for their records and IP addresses with that particular Gmail. And they already had Cody's cell phone records, so they got Jordan's cell phone records. Now, if subpoenaing Google for, records containing IPs for email addresses, that's kind of hard to get. It's going to be time consuming. You're not going to get that. You're not going to ask for it on Monday and get it by Wednesday. It has to go through all their legal stuff and blah. So anyway, they tried. Doesn't mean they got it, but at least they tried. In the meantime, they changed their search parameters from the town to the park, which, if you know this park, is like searching for a needle in a haystack, because the park is 1,584 square miles. It's pure wilderness. It has bears, mountain lions, 762 lakes, 26 glaciers, and 175 mountains. Do y'all see what I'm talking about? But, if the email says that he's there and he's dead, this is something that we have to go off of, so they change their search parameters to there. But to be careful, the search was very, very painstakingly slow. In addition to the search parties, they also hung a lot of flyers in and around the park to see if maybe someone had seen Cody, or at least seen something, like anything. Now, in all of this, Jordan was participating in the search. Her friend Hannah said that during this entire time, Jordan was acting like really, really weird. She just seemed really uncaring and not as worried about her missing husband as the entire town was. She didn't really want to be out there searching and was just uninterested in the entire thing. Like, look, it's 6:00, Jeopardy comes on, so can we wrap this up? I was thinking burgers tonight, maybe put my feet up, cold compress on my forehead because I just have this splitting headache. But I don't know, the email already said he's here. Like, why are we here? Just go with what the email said and let's get out of here, And she even mentioned to a friend that once Cody told her that, this park was his favorite place on earth, and if he were to ever die, this is where he would want to die. And the friend was like, what the So anyways, so far this sounds like months have passed, am I right? Wrong. We are only up to July 11th, 1993. Can you believe all of this is just happening in such a short period of time? So on this particular day, Jordan's group of people in the search party went out to look for Cody. This included Jordan, her brother, and some friends. They went back to the park, and Hannah kept telling Jordan to pull the car over so they can look in certain places, that just looked like he could have fallen down. Like, oh, over here, let's stop over here. Jordan, stop over here. Jordan, look, I can see over here. Let's just stop and look to see if he's fallen down here. Jordan, what are you doing? Stop. But Jordan didn't want to stop. She said she just wanted to drive to this spot that was special to her and Cody, which was at the top of this long 30-mile winding road. And when she arrived at the spot, she parked in the designated parking space and then pointed to the place where she said Cody loved to take her there. The trail in this area had a drop. And when I say a drop, I mean a 200-foot drop that looked just really dangerous. There's even like this safety rail basically telling people, don't walk here, don't hang out here, it's dangerous, do it at your own risk. But you know how people are. They never listen, and of course they still climb over the rail and they do what they want to do. So Jordan climbs over the rail and takes what appears to be a path that, she's gone through many times. She knows her way around there. And it goes to this small cliff that looked out over this ravine. Of course, nobody followed her. They just watched. So she walked out to the very edge of the cliff and just happened to look down. And I know y'all can't see me, but I'm doing quotation, like air quotes. She just happened to look down and said, I think he's down there. So everyone was like, what? What'd you just say? So she looks down again and says, oh my gosh, it's him. Oh no, I can see him from up here. Shock and appalling. Oh my God. Wow. And everyone was just standing there like, what? So her brother Michael was the first one to move, and he followed her out to the edge of the cliff and looked down and saw that, yeah, there was something definitely down there, but he couldn't make out what it was. But he saw something. So I think he got scared and just, the shock of it all. So he just started crying and his knees went out. Like he couldn't even stand up. So he just ended up crawling back to where the car and the others were waiting. And Jordan? Oh no, she was fine. She was good. She just walked back like, oh, yeah, something's down there. So Michael and two friends stayed near the trail to mark it so that they wouldn't forget where it was. And Jordan and the others, they planned to drive down to Lake McDonald Lodge. And what they wanted to do there was report the body at the bottom of the cliff. On the way down to the lodge, they arrived at a general store and spoke with Donna Adams, who was the manager there. And then Donna, called the park rangers, and this was like around 8:30 p.m. Park ranger Steve Powers got the call and jumped into action and drove up to the area where Michael and the others were waiting. They went out and they looked around and they realized it was just too dangerous of a spot to, actually lean over to see that if somebody was there. So they figured they couldn't do anything that night. But they were able to look over enough to see a blue shoe. And Cody was wearing blue sneakers on the day that he went missing. But, that's not enough to confirm that it was Cody or even a body. But without this confirmation, without it being known that it is a body there, they couldn't put in the paperwork to even start a recovery mission because you don't know if somebody just threw their shoe over the edge. So an FBI agent who'd arrived by this time tied a rope around his waist and the other end to a tree and climbed as far down as he could to lean over and verify that there was in fact a body there. And there was a body there. There was a small stream, so this is what he saw, a small stream at the bottom of the ravine, and he saw Cody's body lying in it. And basically that's all the confirmation they needed, so they went in and put in the paperwork for a recovery project. The park ranger reported that this particular area would be really hard to reach, and they reported also that due to the remoteness of this location, they doubted anyone had ever even been to this place. So they had to sit and plan on how they were going to get to the bottom because it wasn't going to be as easy as just going straight down. So they figured they would hike around the river and then around the cliff's edge. And they had to do all of this while carrying all of their supplies for evidence collection. So you could just imagine just how long and grueling this trek was. So the next day, which was July 12th, basically that's what they did. They put their plan into effect. And when they finally reached the bottom, they did see a body laying in a pool of water at the bottom of a waterfall. The body was decomposing already and was really bashed up, as you can imagine, from a 200-foot drop. The head and arms had received most of the damage. Investigators searched around the body and found one of Cody's shoes in the water and a piece of black cloth that they thought could have been something like a blindfold. And on the body, they found a wallet, and in the wallet, they found Cody's identification. Now, there was no way for them to carry the body back up, so they had to call in a helicopter that had a 200-foot line so that they could airlift the body out. Then they went about the hard job of telling Cody's friends and family that his body had been found. Investigators still didn't know what had happened, so they re-interviewed all of Cody's friends, all of Cody's family members, only to find out that Cody was deathly afraid of heights. So no one could explain why someone who's deathly afraid of heights would be out there on that ledge. Cody's friends told police that, they just felt like someone must have lured him out there. But who could have that much power over him, especially if he was so scared of places like that? And because of all of these clues, investigators changed this case from a missing person / possible accident to a homicide investigation. But they had no leads to go on. So investigation once again back at square one. The only thing they had was that Tony the car guy email, because whoever sent that email seemed to be the only one that knew, what happened to Cody. But they still haven't received permission from Google yet, to figure out where this IP is leading from. They haven't received that kind of permission yet, so they were at a standstill. So Cody's mom, his family, his friends, they had to bury Cody. And on the day of Cody's funeral, everybody's mourning, everybody's sad, everybody's distraught. But Jordan seemed more busy with her phone than with the death of her husband. She just kept texting and, I don't know who she was texting since everybody was at the funeral, but she just kept looking through her phone, maybe looking for sales that were going on. I don't know what she was doing. But anyway, one day, Kimberly Martinez, which again, if you don't remember, was Jordan's maid of honor, she came into the station and told the cops something that no one had reported as of yet. She told them that Jordan didn't want to marry Cody and that on the wedding day, she didn't know if she would go through with it. The main problem was that she was petrified of doing anything sexual with Cody. Kimberly reminisced asking Jordan if she was sure she wanted to go through with the marriage, but in the end, as we know, Jordan did. She also confirmed that they did not have sex on their wedding night. Remember when I said that Jordan told Hannah that she had lied about being on her period? Well, she told Kimberly too. You know, they're all friends, so Kimberly told the cops that Jordan had lied about her being on her period and that she'd kept that going for the entire week. And Kimberly showed detectives text messages in which Jordan expressed her distaste in having sex with Cody, period. In fact, the text messages revealed that she wasn't even physically attracted to him and she was repulsed at the thought of having to, quote, do stuff with him. And this was just all according to Jordan's messages in Kimberly's phone. It was also revealed that Jordan had said that she hadn't stopped crying since the wedding. So I'm going to read you the transcripts of the text messages. On June 30th at 10:31 p.m., there was a text that said, "Totally just had a meltdown. I'm completely second-guessing everything. I don't know if all of this was the right thing to do. So much happened last night. I just don't know." And Kimberly replied, "About what? Are you okay?" And Jordan reiterated her fear about being intimate with Cody. Kimberly offered her comfort and said that, this was normal. You're virgin. This is normal. Then on July 1st, Jordan texted Kimberly at 9:11 p.m. saying, "I cannot frickin' pull myself together. I haven't stopped crying since I was married. I wish someone would have stood up and asked me what I wanted, but I can't go back and change anything. I should be happy and I'm just not. I don't feel like myself." So Kimberly told officers that around this time she started to get worried and told Jordan to talk to Cody about her feelings. So Hannah told her, Kimberly told her, and I'm sure other people that she talked to told her to talk to Cody. But Jordan said she didn't want to because she didn't want to hurt Cody's feelings. So the next text that came in during the week was, quote, "It's just so freaking hard. I want my happy self back. But I'm a loser who can't open my mouth and say how I feel." Then on July 7th, some more texts talking to Kimberly about her depression, to which Kimberly really urged her to speak to Cody. Jordan said finally that she would speak to Cody that night about her depression and just how she was feeling. And she also ended the messages with, "But dead serious, if you don't hear from me, something happened." Now, there was one more text conversation on the night of July 7th that read, quote, "Now I'm freaking not." She probably meant to write out, O-U-T, not N-O-T. "I don't even know what to do right now." Kimberly asked what happened and Jordan responded, "I talked to him and all it did was cause me to get scratched and him to leave. There's no way I'm going to fall asleep. If I do, I won't wake up." Kimberly also told detectives that Jordan came to her house really late on the night of July 7th and spoke to her about what happened. Basically told her what she'd already texted her, with the addition that Cody had gotten really angry and she'd left so he can cool off. She said she'd gone to her mom and stepdad's house to get her mind off of things and to hang out with her brother. So now, with all of this, the text messages and what Kimberly said, detectives realized that Jordan had been lying to them all along and just telling different stories to different people. So they went back through everything, including interviewing the park rangers Jordan had reported the incident to. The rangers said that they were surprised at how Jordan just didn't have any emotions at all when she thought her husband was dead at the bottom of a ravine. Everyone else who was with her were crying and very sad and freaking out, and she was the complete opposite. They were also worried that she knew exactly where to look in a 1,500 square foot park. They were able to go back and review security cameras from Glacier National Park's west entrance, which is where they came in, because when Jordan was going up the ravine and everything, that's the entrance she took. So they went to that entrance camera, and they reviewed the security cameras, and it showed that at 9:17 p.m. on July 7th, Jordan and Cody entered the park together. And the picture of Jordan was so clear, there was like no mistaking it. You know, like in the movies when they're like, okay, grab that screenshot. Okay, enhance it. And there's like, and they're just enhance a picture like with 3 keystrokes. But anyways, the picture was so clear, you couldn't mistake that was Jordan. So investigators brought Jordan back into the police station for the 3rd time that week. Yes, it's only been a week. And she thought that she would be meeting the same detectives she's been talking to. But when she got there, this time she met with FBI agent Stacy Smidala. I think that's how you say it. Smidala. Why did I say Shmi? Smidala. Agent Stacy, that's what we'll call her, asked Jordan to retell her version of events from July 7th. And how did she know where to look in the park? Now, Jordan recounted the whole Cody went with friends thing, and, she went down her whole spiel and everything like that. She also said that she knew where to look because this was like one of the spots that Cody wanted to see before he died, and that's what made her think to look there. As she's talking, and I could just imagine this in my head, as she's talking, Agent Stacy has like this picture on the table. And as she's like, yeah, I just wanted to look there because this is what he said he had on his bucket list, and he wanted to look here. He wanted to, look at this place before he died. And, as she's saying all of this, Agent Stacy is just slowly turning this picture over and pushing it in front of her. And so, Jordan stops talking and looks down and just turns pale and is like, so Agent Stacy was like, Jordan, you were at the park the night that Cody died. And then Jordan just looked at the picture and started crying. And then, she told him everything that happened that night. She said that after getting home from DQ, she told Cody that she didn't want to be in the marriage anymore and that she wasn't happy. She said Cody got really angry and they started arguing. However, later on that night, they decided to stop arguing and go to Glacier National Park to just enjoy the night. They went up to the parking lot, the one that she took them to during the search. So that parking lot, went down near the rocks, climbed over the wall, and basically she walked them through the exact same path that, she took them to when she found quote unquote Cody's dead body. However, she said when they got to the cliff, the fight started again. She said Cody started yelling at her and getting physical. And she said she wasn't going to argue, so she turned to walk away, and he grabbed her and yanked her jacket. And she yanked her hand away and realized that this time I'm not going to let him abuse me. So here it is in the rest in her words instead of me giving you my words, because whenever unless I say quote unquote, these are all my words, I want to make that abundantly clear. So unless I say, this is in her words or quote unquote or, something like that. But anyways, so here's in her words. He went to grab my arm and my jacket and I said, no. I said, I'm not going to let this happen this time. I'm going to defend myself. So I let go and I pushed him and he went over. And then I took off and went home. So basically what she's doing is playing the defense card. But even in this supposed self-defense, how cold is it that she just walked away after he went over a cliff? She was just like, well, that's that, going home. She also admitted that Tony the car guy wasn't real. That she made him up and that she wrote the email from her stepdad's house. So on September 9th, 2013, Jordan is arrested and charged with second-degree murder and making false statements to authorities. So they took her case to the judge, and the judge wasn't able to prove that Jordan was a danger to others, so they let her go, and put her under house arrest. She literally just killed her husband. What in the world? I mean, oh my God. She also had to take a mental health evaluation and had to complete whatever treatment the counselors set forth for her. In October, Jordan was indicted on premeditated first-degree murder, second-degree murder, and making false statements to authorities. Now, just the premeditated first-degree murder itself has a minimum sentence of life in prison without a chance of parole. And now, usually I ask Char this, but I'm asking you, the listeners, how do you think Jordan pleaded? If anyone said guilty, that's me slapping you, by the way. She said not guilty. And the trial date was set for December 9th. So December 9th comes around and the trial gets started at Missoula Federal Court and is presided over by Judge Molly. And Jordan's attorneys are Andy Nelson and Michael Donahoe. And the federal prosecutors in this case were Assistant U.S. Attorney Chris McLean and Assistant U.S. Attorney Zeno Bacchus. And so when the trial started, the defense was that Jordan murdered Cody. Evidence was presented like, Jordan acting weird with Cody. She never showed that she actually liked him. She didn't want to get a divorce to keep up appearances. She was scared of having sex with him. She wasn't even physically attracted to him. And, basically that she just wasn't into Cody. But she wanted to keep up appearances, so she didn't want to get a divorce. She didn't want to stop the wedding. So this is all the evidence that was presented. It also came out that Cody had canceled plans for that day because Jordan had told him that she had a surprise for him. And Cody was excited, and many of his friends thought that this was the day. You know what I'm talking about? The day that they were finally going to be intimate. So, his friends were excited for him. Everybody was probably joking around with him like, don't hurt her. Stuff like that. So maybe Jordan led him to that area with the promise of their first sexual encounter since getting married. I don't know. I mean, if somebody's afraid of heights, but they're finally about to have sex with their wife, the person who they want to be with, and the person who they've probably thought that of having sex with since they were still dating. I mean, I'm pretty sure somebody might get over that fear of heights, just to get that done. I don't know. And this also makes sense since they did find the blindfold with Cody's body. So that kind of still makes sense. But Jordan countered in court that Cody had put that on himself and was like jumping around the cliff like, I could do this. I'm not scared. Like, that makes total sense. Really, he's just going to put a blindfold on himself, be scared of heights, and then go to the edge of a cliff and jump around and say, yeah, I can do this. Like, especially since also, didn't she say as soon as they got there, they started fighting again? So why in the middle of a fight would he just pull out a blindfold, put it on, and be like, hey, look at me? Like, that doesn't make sense. So more than 30 witnesses took the stand to testify against Jordan, and this included Cody's mother. Now, on December 12th, Jordan's defense took over, and they tried to, paint her in the light of this innocent, childlike person who wasn't ready for the responsibilities of marriage. The defense attorney said what happened on the night of July 7th was a tragic accident, and that Jordan lied about Cody's death because she thought no one would believe her side of the story. They also tried to say, although evidence was shown in court through video interview with Jordan, that she lied to police and easily changed her story. But, they tried to say there was more to the story and that the cops didn't tape like an hour and a half of more of her story during the interview. So this is what her defense is saying. Now, after an hour of recess and before the closing arguments, which was around 12:15 p.m., Jordan decided to plead guilty to second-degree murder. And basically, this shocked everyone, but she had taken a plea deal to the lesser charge, and in exchange, she was given 30 years in prison. I mean, can you believe that's all she got? 30 years in prison for maliciously shoving someone over a cliff and then lying to everybody and not showing any freaking kind of remorse until she got caught. Then the only remorse she showed was that she got caught, and she got 30 years, and that's it. Anyways, she said what she did was reckless, but still she said it was an accident. So the judge sentenced her to 30 years without the possibility of parole. And in that time, Jordan has constantly tried to appeal to get out of prison, but it has constantly been rejected. And the last time she tried to appeal was in 2016, and that too was rejected. So right now, Jordan is at a federal prison in Alabama and is set to be released in, drumroll please, 2023. We are currently in the middle of 2021, so she has a year and a half before she's released. Just a year and a half. And she's going to be 50 years old, which is, that's not old. You still have a life to lead. Oh, side note. That's right. I wanted to tell y'all this. Jordan never apologized to anyone. She didn't apologize to Cody's mom. She didn't apologize to her family. She never apologized to anyone. And like I said, she never showed remorse. So this is Jordan. And that is the long and twisted story of Jordan Lynn Graham and Cody Johnson. Jordan Lynn Graham is getting out of prison at 50 in order to live a life. And Cody Johnson is dead at the bottom of a cliff. So if you like this episode, I don't know what to say to you. It's one of the crazy ones that I've done. By the way, I didn't tell y'all, but they were only married 8 days. This happened 8 days after they got married. So I guess it was winding down the fact that, you can't, you could say your period's still on for 15 days, 16 days, but maybe she didn't know that people have periods that long sometimes, so she just knows hers lasts a week, so she was running out of time to find an excuse to not have sex with Cody, and she couldn't figure one out. And allegedly, here we are. So I don't know why she did it. She never came out and said why she did it. She made up another cockamamie story and blamed it on self-defense. So she just continuously paints Cody in the bad light. And, anyways. Like I was saying, if you like this episode, go to Apple Podcasts, hit the purple button, and give us 5 stars, please. You can say whatever you want in the description, but what this does, like I said in the beginning of the show, is helps to bring us up in charts and lets other people who are interested in relationship true crime to find our podcast. Don't forget to visit us on patreon.com and become a subscriber for crazy bonus episodes and to hear full-length episodes without ads, to hear other bonus episodes like relationship Q&A, relationship advice, crazy crime roundups, and everything like that. Don't forget to stay tuned to some exciting new stuff we have that's coming up on our YouTube channel. I'm going to put the link in our show notes below. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the craziness and the exciting stuff that we have coming up on our YouTube channel. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/relationshipcrime, Instagram @LoveMurderPodcast, our new Facebook fan group, Love and Murder fan page, and don't forget we have true crime merch. That's at loveandmurder.threadless.com. Stuff like stay sexy, don't get murdered. Stuff like true crime is my love language. Stuff like introverted but willing to discuss true crime. So we have all of this stuff at our shop at loveandmurder.threadless.com. And if you want to support us for free, and it only takes about 1 minute or less of your time, all you got to do is share this episode with your friend. Just hit the share button and post it on your YouTube, your Instagram, your Pinterest, or wherever you have followers and you want them to listen to this story. And that's all I have for y'all tonight. Hopefully next show, Char will finally be back and you'll have your delightful duo back again. But in the meantime, I want to remind y'all of all love and no murder, y'all. Have a great night.